Hello, viewers, welcome back to Sorry What. I hope you're having a great day today. Jason here bringing you another story about betrayal. I won't keep you for much longer, so let's begin. Dad gave me some words of wisdom when I started dating. He said, "Son, high-valued men don't tolerate any kind of disrespect, manipulation, or lies from girls or women. Be true to yourself and always be a high-valued man." Bad news, sweetheart. The merger meeting has just been moved up, and I need to leave tomorrow morning and won't be back until late Sunday. I know how important this wedding is to you, especially because you're the maid of honor. You need to understand, I just got this promotion to CFO, and I can't miss the meeting because there's too much writing on it for the company and our future. You'll have to go without me, I'm sorry. Are you serious? You know how long we planned this, and now, at the last minute you're going to cancel. And I'll be there alone. Do you have any idea how embarrassing that will be for me? Isn't there anything you can do? Can someone else go in your place? Vera, this deal is valued at over $2 billion, and I'm the lead on this project. You know how hard we've worked on it over the last year, and no, there's nobody else that can take my place. Too many people's jobs depend on our success. I'm sorry, I know this is difficult, and I'll make it up to you with the bonus money we'll see from this deal. I know you're angry, but there's nothing I can do. I'll be back on Sunday. To say she was pissed was an understatement. She stopped talking to me and told me to sleep in the guest room. No intimacy or sex before my trip. That wasn't normal. Her coldness and anger were also out of character. I tried to understand, but was unable to alleviate her anger, so I packed for my trip and slept in the guest room that night. I knew the wedding was important to her because of all the struggles her lifelong friend, Carol, had gone through. Her ex-husband cheated on her during her life-threatening illness, and abandoned her because he couldn't watch her slow death. He took the coward's way out. It devastated Carol, and didn't help her situation. But, after a miraculous recovery, Carol filed for divorce due to abandonment, and lived with depression for the next 5 years. All her friends and family were there for her and tried to cheer her up to no avail. Then, one day, she met a guy at the grocery store, and her world flourished, and she became her old self once again. Her friends and family's prayers were answered, and everyone wanted to celebrate the joyous occasion. Brandon, her finance, loved her deeply and planned this amazing wedding. Vera was her best friend and the maid of honor. She was there for her friend the entire time. I knew this was important to Vera, and I hated having to cancel, but there was nothing I could do. I knew that I would have to make it up to her, and somehow live with her anger. Before leaving on my trip the next morning, I tried to give Vera a kiss goodbye, but the door to her bedroom was locked, and she wasn't about to open it for me. I told her I loved her and I would call her when I landed in Germany. Without any reply, I sadly walked to the waiting limo that drove me to the airport. I felt terrible and unhappy about her actions, and not understanding my situation. After 19 years of marriage, I would have expected more tolerance and caring. I called her before the flight, but her cell phone went right to voicemail. I left her a message apologizing once again, hoping for a reply. I sent another text before takeoff, and another when I landed 10 hours later. Still, no reply, no voicemails, no texts. I knew she was pissed, and that I would have a great deal of apologizing to get back in her good graces. With no other choice, I called our twin girls at college, and told them about my trip and how my work plans had changed, that their mom was angry with me, and not returning my calls. I asked them not to say anything, and just to check in on her to make sure she's okay, that I was worried about her, and that I would feel much better if they could let me know she's okay. They understood and told me they loved me. They've always been daddy's girls, and I love them dearly. Germany. When I got to the hotel, I called my CEO to get an update, and to my horror, the meeting had just been cancelled because the CEO of the other company had a death in his family and would have to reschedule. I immediately called the airlines and got a direct flight into Chicago O'Hare, which was only 30 minutes from the reception. Since the wedding reception started at 7 p.m., I figured I could get there by 9 p.m. and be a good husband. I was sure that would make her happy. After getting the rental car, the GPS gave me directions to the reception hall. It was a little after 9 when I entered the reception, and the celebration was in full swing. The music was loud, everyone was dancing, and the liquor was freely flowing. There were lots of drunk people partying and enjoying the celebration. It was indeed a happy occasion, and I was happy I could attend and anxious to be with my wife. There were over 200 people at the reception, and I couldn't see Vera when I came in. I walked over to the open bar and ordered a double bourbon, stepped to the side and scanned the crowd for my wife. I reflected on our past and how we got here. Vera was 5 years older than me and recently divorced when we met. Her ex-husband, Dr. Clayton Adams, was a medical resident at Mercy Hospital when they were divorced. Dr. Clayton, what he liked to be called, was caught cheating with one of the nurses at the hospital. When Vera found out, she kicked him out, devastated by his betrayal. She wanted children and a happy life, but the asshole destroyed her dreams. She divorced him and was depressed and penniless after the divorce, because residents don't earn much money, and the divorce simply split their holdings. She turned to waitressing and was barely making ends meet. Because of this episode in her life, she knew firsthand how Carol felt. When I met Vera, it was love at first sight. I fell head over heels for this lady. She may have been broken and depressed, but I knew she was a diamond in the rough. I saw her obvious beauty, but fell in love with her heart and her caring personality. I saved her from herself, turned her life around, and gave her 19 wonderful years filled with the love of our twin girls. Vera loved my no-nonsense attitude when it came to relationships. We constantly discussed loyalty and commitment, and this made her feel safe and secure. I made it clear that I was a loyal partner, and would never put up with cheating in any way, and praised her for dumping her cheating husband, no matter how difficult it was. I explained that many people would put up with it to save a marriage or to remain secure financially, and was proud of her strength to move on. That was the foundation of our marriage. Trust, loyalty, and commitment. Until this damn wedding, I was living a wonderful life, completely fulfilled and in love. Vera looked great for 44, but I was 5 years younger and in great shape. In fact, at the age of 39, I was in the prime of my life. Due to my constant gym workouts and 5K runs, I was at peak performance. She had an amazing body and we were great in the sack. There was no issue with our age difference, and we rarely discussed it over the years. We had raised 2 wonderful twin girls, Marcia and Carrie, who were now in college, 4 hours from home. They were happy and experiencing college life while getting ready for their future. We had a great family and a stable marriage, at least that was my belief until I saw my wife sitting alone with Clayton, her ex-husband. I knew Clayton was a friend of Carol, the bride, but I didn't expect him to be at the wedding, let alone being here single, without his wife. Tired from the travel, and curious at what I was seeing, I stood there and watched them sitting alone. I was shocked at how very friendly they were considering their history. I decided to watch for a few minutes to see exactly what they were doing. It didn't take long for my world to deteriorate. I was about to approach them and break up their love fest, but before I could make my move she stood, took his hand, and led him onto the dance floor. She looked amazing in that tight-fitting ivory gown, and my heart went out to her, praying for this to be nothing more than a dance. Her forwardness shocked me as they danced to several slow songs. I nursed my drink and waited to see what happened next. I could tell that Vera had been drinking from the way she was flirting, which wasn't uncommon after several drinks. She always got horny and flirty with me, which was normal. What was not normal was her kissing another man that wasn't me, and doing it openly in front of her friends. Everyone knew she was married to me, and that pissed me off even more. I felt humiliated and angry as I watched my wife give her love away. Still frozen in shock, my blood was now boiling as I watched him openly grabbing her bum and kissing her as she responded in kind. My anger grew, and as I was about to approach them and break it up, when they walked her back to the table and sat off to the side. They started making out like a honeymoon couple, and I could clearly see his hands on her breasts, and her hand under the table. Just before I was about to confront them, I came to the realization that my marriage was over. I remembered my father's words, high-valued men don't tolerate disrespect, and I decided to act, but not in a violent way. I could have made a scene, disrupted the perfect wedding ceremony, stopped them and prevented it from going any further, but why? I thought, if she wants him, she can have him, she is no longer mine. With a strange calm I took out my phone, zoomed in and took several close-up photos, a short video, and then sent her a text message. My text. Great news, honey, the meeting was postponed and I'm back, but it looks like you're in good hands tonight. I'll be heading back home, and I assume you'll be spending the night with Dr. Clayton. Now I understand why you haven't been answering my calls or returning my text messages. Well, have fun and enjoy the death of our marriage. I'll be gone by the time you get home tomorrow. I hit send and watched calmly, wondering if she would pick up her phone and read the text. As I watched, I could see her phone light up with a notification of an incoming message. She saw it light up on the table and picked up the phone. She then started hitting some buttons, obviously looking for the message. Vera seemed to have sobered up quickly as I saw the expression on her face become serious. As soon as I saw her reaction, I headed out of the reception to my car. Vera must have panicked and saw me leaving, but I made it outside before she could reach me. As I opened my car door, I heard her scream out, "Tony, please wait." With a cold stare I just shook my head, got in my car, and left the parking lot before she could reach me. My phone immediately started to ring, but I was in no condition to answer it, much less speak to her. If she wanted to be with her ex, then we were through. Hell, after what I just saw, we were done anyway. 22 years after divorcing that cheating asshole, she jumps back into his arms the first chance she gets. Well, she'll have to explain things to the family and kids because this is all on her. Dozens of frantic text messages started arriving on my phone. Tony, please come back. Let me explain. I love you, please come back. Damn it, Tony, it wasn't what it looked like. I love you. But, after 2 days of 10-hour flights, 2 days of no return calls or texts, the cold shoulder, and watching her with Clayton, I was in no mood to listen to her apologies. In fact, I was as angry as I had ever been, and wanted nothing to do with her bullshit. After 20 phone calls and texts, I pulled over and sent one text message back to her. The text I sent read, "Duck you." My work was going great, my kids were off to college which was already funded, and I had nothing tying me down. I was still young enough to make a new start. After 4 hours into my 7-hour drive back to Nashville, I pulled into a diner to get a bite to eat and take a short nap in the car, before I continued my drive back home. While eating my eggs and bacon, I decided to let the world know exactly how I felt. At the time, Facebook was the most popular social media site, where everyone visited and exchanged updates on their life. Between bites I changed my Facebook status from happily married to single and available. Then I posted 2 of the photos I took of Vera and Clayton in a deep kiss at the wedding. In the second photo you could clearly see his hand on her breasts. Under the photo I explained that Vera was trading up and getting back with her ex-husband, and that I was now back on the market. Yes, it was immature, but in my mind, it was the truth. I was moving on, without her. The funny thing is that Clayton, her ex, was almost 50 years old, balding, overweight, and without trying to sound conceited, not an upgrade by any sense of the word. What the duck was she thinking, throwing us away for some old worn-out dude that had already cheated on her? Maybe she wanted to be with a doctor, instead of an accountant. To be honest, it hurt. In fact, it hurt a lot. I felt more pain at that moment than I could ever remember. I felt sad and angry, but it also made me laugh at the ridiculous situation. She was throwing her marriage of 19 years away for an old guy that cheated on her over 20 years ago. Duck her, and duck him. He can have her, they deserve each other. I wasn't the kind of guy that puts up with that type of disrespect. I'm sure there are lots of guys that would say, it was only a kiss and some touching, and that there is no reason to leave her. Sorry, but in my world either my woman is committed to me or she is free to be with someone else. We all live with our choices. After the late breakfast and a 2-hour nap in the car, I got back on the road, pulling into my driveway at 7 a.m. When I turned on my phone, it started dinging with dozens of notifications. So many came in, that I didn't think they were ever going to stop. There had to be over 100 messages from her parents, her sister and friends. Within 5 minutes after turning on the phone, it started ringing, and I noticed it was Vera. I wondered if she got any sleep last night or if she spent it with Clayton. No matter, I just ignored her calls because I was past all that now, and only focused on getting what I needed out of the house, and moving on. I got along well with her family, and when they called me that morning, I took their call and I explained to her dad what had happened. James, I had no idea that she was unhappy with our marriage, but cheating was the death blow to her happy life. The disrespect she displayed in front of the people we know was something I can't put up with. No, it was obvious that she still has feelings for the asshole, and now she can be with him. I intend to find a woman that will appreciate what I have to offer and stay faithful. James, I have no other choice. I'll be moving out today, and putting the house up for sale immediately. I'll be contacting an attorney tomorrow morning to file for divorce. She can live here until the house sells, and I will treat her fairly in the divorce. Call me old-fashioned, but I will not live with a woman that wants to be with someone else. She's made her choice, but I don't believe she chose wisely this time. James drove over an hour later and begged me to wait and talk to her before going nuclear. After asking me to give her a chance to explain, I told him to look at that photo again, and see how they were fondling each other openly at the wedding. There was no way I would put up with that, and doing it with her ex was just another slap in my face. Her dad was disappointed in her actions and my decision to act so swiftly and decisively. When I entered our home, I felt myself tear up, realizing that our happy home was no longer a home, but the shell of our marriage. We spent the last 5 years turning our home into our perfect abode. At that time the mortgage rates were under 2.99%, and our home had doubled in value. Being the account, I decided to refinance the home with full value, and pulled almost $500,000 of equity out of the house. I immediately set up a $200,000 trust fund for each girl's college, and a little extra to give them a good start in life. We took the other $100,000 and upgraded the house, making it a showcase that we greatly enjoyed and were proud of. The lower interest rate made the monthly payment only $1,700 per month higher than before we took out the equity. It was a no-brainer, and Vera went back to work as a receptionist to make up the extra monthly payment. I had a good salary, nothing crazy, but as the newly promoted CFO, I would be getting stock options the following year, which would become our retirement fund. Vera was never involved or interested in our finances, as long as she got what she wanted, trusting my finance knowledge, and lived a comfortable life. I tried to explain the stock options several times, but I could see her eyes glaze over and never fully understood. Since it didn't matter, I just chucked to myself at her lack of interest. No big deal, I was happy for our future. This merger, which apparently coincided with the end of my marriage, was going to get me a bonus in stock options in the 40,000 share range if successful. Of course, I would have to wait a number of years to execute the options, but the expectation that the stock would reach $100 per share made me feel confident about the future. Since the merger was on hold, the options would not become part of the divorce settlements. I was going to file for irreconcilable differences and just split our assets. That equated to about $50,000 in our savings account. We would split the sale of the house, but being fully leveraged meant that there would be little to split. At the age of 44, Vera would be walking away with her car and $25,000. Had she remained faithful, she would have lived a loving life with a secure future. Her world was about to be rocked because my anger and humiliation overrode any loving feelings and memories that were buried deep in my soul. All I wanted now was revenge, and for her to realize what she threw away. Chapter 2. Vera's Nightmare. I haven't seen Clayton in 20 years, and it brought back so many memories, both good and bad. He was a good husband, until he cheated on me and ended our marriage. We always had chemistry and great sex, but he was no comparison to Tony. My husband was much better looking, a great lover, and I love him dearly. But why am I sitting here with Clayton and letting him touch me and kiss me? I know it was wrong, but I continued to flirt. I definitely had too much to drink, but Tony should have been here. God, I should know better and stop this, but it feels so good. For some reason, he still felt like a soulmate, and a little flirting wouldn't hurt anyone. Besides, Clayton is now divorced, and Tony couldn't be bothered to change his trip to be here with me where he belongs. He knew how important this wedding was to me, so I think I owed a little fun. After another kiss, I felt all warm inside. I remembered those kisses, and I felt my kitty getting wet while he held me as we danced. We can play a little here in this secluded spot. Everyone's drunk and I'm sure nobody will see us. Just a little kissing and touching, nothing more. I'll make it up to Tony when he gets back. My phone is flashing with a text message: all my friends are here. Maybe it's Tony checking in. Oh God, Tony says he's here. I don't see him. Wait, is it him walking out now? Damn it, I have to get to him. Did he just see me kissing Clayton? Duck, this is bad. Turning to a confused Clayton, excuse me, I need to use the ladies' room, I said, frantically running out of the reception. I saw the exit door closing down the hallway, and I ran as fast as I could in my high heels. Oh God, that is Tony, and he saw me with Clayton. Tony, wait please, no reply, and he just got into his car. I tried to run after him, but he drove away. Now he won't answer his phone. How many text messages have I sent him, and he won't reply? He's pissed, and I don't blame him. After several more calls and another 10 messages, my heart broke when I finally received his only reply: duck you. 2 of my girlfriends found me on my knees outside in the freezing cold and asked me what was wrong. When I explained it to them, they were shocked at my actions and concerned that I was caught. They know Tony is a hard ass, and if he saw us together, there was trouble ahead. Tony, 10 a.m. back home in Nashville. After packing up my truck, I sat at the kitchen table and enjoyed my last cup of coffee in the home we made together. I was full of sadness and anger as I placed the empty cup into the sink. I left a short note on the table telling her not to call me, and we would talk once the divorce papers were ready. I didn't bother to sign the note and just placed my wedding ring on top of the papers. Before I left for the last time, I opened my laptop and split our funds, and cancelled our joint credit card after paying off the balance. Starting today, she was on her own. If she fought the divorce, she could just pay all the bills herself. There was no way she could afford the mortgage and utilities. The house would be in demand, and would sell quickly at the right price. If she didn't fight the divorce, we could quickly end this sham of a marriage, and she could go back to her beloved Clayton. I drove away from my former sanctuary into a dark, unknown new world. I heard later from my friends at the wedding that after I left, Vera was a wreck. They couldn't get her to stop crying until she finally passed out from all the drinks and exhaustion from the uncontrollable sobbing. Her girlfriends felt horrible and were concerned for Vera. They called me several times, leaving voicemails and text messages for me to return. To prevent her from ruining the wedding reception, the girls brought her back to her hotel room and put her to bed and checked up on her several times that night. When she woke up early in the morning and remembered what had happened, she tried calling me over and over, begging me to forgive her and to please call. I wanted nothing to do with her after what I witnessed and never answered any of her calls or messages. Vera returns home. Sunday morning, I woke up with a bad hangover and the fear of divorce. I flew home at noon and Dad picked me up at the airport. I learned later that Tony told my dad that he would not be picking me up and needed a ride. From my dad's concerned face, I must have looked horrible. My dad was my rock, and when I saw him there, I rushed over and hugged him, sobbing into his shoulder. "Daddy, I screwed up and I think Tony left me." With a sad face, he spoke softly to his hurting little girl. "I spoke to him this morning, and it doesn't look good. You know, Tony. What in the world were you thinking? And with Clayton? I don't know what I was doing. I was drunk, and I was angry at Tony because he didn't come to the wedding. I know I messed up, but he has to forgive me, Daddy. I never even had sex with him." "Sweetheart, from the photos I've seen, you might as well have had sex with him. I'm not sure he's the kind of guy to forgive too quickly. You know, Tony, and just you being with another man the way you were in those photos was cheating to him." When she entered the home, she prayed that Tony would be there waiting, but knowing Tony, she knew he would be long gone. She spent the rest of the day in tears, reaching out to Tony's cell phone in the hope that he would at least speak with her and give her a chance to apologize. She realized the irony of the situation as she cheated on Tony with the man that cheated on her so many years ago. Tony, the only man she loved and the life cherished, seemed to have been destroyed in the blink of an eye, confirmed by his wedding ring on his short note left on the table. Tony's date continues. In the meantime, I moved into the company's condo used for out-of-town clients. With nobody scheduled to use the condo, I called my CEO, and he was okay with me staying there after I told him this story. My CEO, Bill, is a good friend and had been through something similar many years ago. In fact, he suggested that I defer this year's options to accumulate them at a future date. The next day I went into my office on the 16th floor. There was no way Vera would make it through security if she showed up to see me at work, and I gave strict instructions to security to escort her out of the building if she showed up. They were good at their job, and when she did show up on Monday, she got the message that there would not be any interaction at work. She tried desperately to talk to me, but I wanted nothing to do with her. She didn't know where I was staying, and I wasn't taking her calls. She was completely isolated, angry at herself, alone, and scared for her future. Concerned for their mom, I received several frantic calls from my girls. They were begging me to talk to their mom. I explained that their mom made her decision to be with another man, and everyone knew how I felt about cheating. Before they started to protest, I explained that what she did was cheating in my book. My girls knew better than to argue with me and respected my decision. I calmly tried to explain that their mom chose another man over me, and I no longer had any obligation to her, and our divorce was imminent, but I would always be there for them, and wanted to keep them in my life. I told them to remember this when they're married, and never to disrespect or cheat on their husband, because most men would not stand for that level of disrespect. Funny things happened after my Facebook post. Besides taking calls from all my friends and family asking me to explain, I became a hot commodity with the ladies. Suddenly I was on the market and started dating women, much younger with more energy and enthusiasm than I had enjoyed over the last few years. Gone was the witching and complaining from Vera, replaced with heightened sex, loving text messages, and constantly being chased by fun-loving girls. I met my future wife Cheryl a month later, and we quickly became an item a few months after the divorce was finalized. Vera was upset when she learned of my new lifestyle. Mostly angry at herself but jealous and upset with me for not giving her another chance before the divorce. I turned down all of her requests for a meeting, and only communicated with her through the attorneys. In the end, the house sold quickly. After real estate fees and closing costs, there was less than $1,000 in equity, which I instructed to be given to Vera. The attorneys fought hard for my options, but the court ruled that they cannot attach possible future earnings, and use my average income to come up with a settlement. Since Vera was working, the alimony wouldn't be difficult, and I finally agreed to support for 2 years at $2,000 per month, not a windfall, but enough for Vera to survive on until she got back on her feet, or found another sucker to marry her, which wasn't going to be me. Epilogue. For the following years I never did speak to Vera, and only communicated through our attorneys. She ended up moving to Chicago, where she had friends and a support group. Without any other prospects, she moved in with the aging Dr. Clayton. She would never be the same happy woman she was with me, and realized what she had given away because of her anger and selfishness. It wasn't like she didn't know how I would react, but she made a bad decision. She never had sex with him that night, but she knew me, and still made the wrong decision, and acted like a single woman on the prowl. We did meet up at our girls' graduation 3 years later. Vera had tears in her eyes when she met my 28-year-old pregnant wife Cheryl, and our 1-year-old little girl, Jolene. Vera was now pushing 47, and the years had not been kind to her. She was accompanied by Dr. Clayton, who wisely kept his distance. Later that afternoon, Vera finally got me alone. "Tony, you never gave me the chance to apologize. I should have known better. A day hasn't gone by when I think back to my stupid actions that weekend. We had it all, and I gave it all up for nothing. You were the perfect husband, and I miss the wonderful life we shared. Vera, that's in the past and I forgive you. Yes, I never thought you would be in his arms while I was away working for our future. But I really need to thank you. You gave me 19 wonderful years, and 2 great girls, and I'll always love you for that. Vera, the truth is, because of your betrayal I found Cheryl and starting a new family with Jolene, and our new baby girl, has led me release the anger I held toward you. You need to take care of yourself and live for your future. Our past is just that, the past. Good luck, and I look forward to seeing you at the girls' future life events. Just then Cheryl came up to my side with our daughter in her arms, and I introduced them. The age difference was obvious. At 47, Vera could have been Cheryl's mother, and once again Vera felt sorry for losing the man she loved over a night of anger and selfish actions. Over the next 10 years we met at the girls' weddings. She never married, but continued to live with Clayton, who treated her well. Seeing me with a new family and 2 little girls brought back so many tender memories. Now the loving life she once enjoyed was forever gone, and she would end up living a quiet life filled with regret for the love and good times lost. As my final act of revenge, that summer after my stock options were executed, I purchased my old home which was back on the market. My entire family and friends, except Vera, were excited that the old home with so many memories was back. My girls loved to visit and reminisce about their time growing up in our loving home. Too bad Vera chose a different path. She would have loved being here living out the life we had planned together. But life goes on, and I'm having fun making a new life and new memories with my wonderful wife and my little girls. Rule to live by. Before you do me wrong, make sure you will never need me again. And that's it for today's story. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you leave. Stay vigilant, and I'll see you next time.